How y'all are this afternoon? It's your buddy George Jones down here at the Bargain Gun Range on this next episode of let's recap a month. On the real though, it's your boy Trentonius Maximus coming at you yet again with the August No Cap recap. Big shout out to E Squad 540 for that intro I just stole. He doesn't know who I am, but I watch his videos a lot. Now I know what you're thinking, Trent. It's like the later part of September, and you're correct. It is. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm out here in the woods. For anybody who wonders or cares, 1969 Pontiac Grand Prix Model J. There's nothing in here. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, let's get into it. Starting her off, August 1st, Taco Bell got sued, class action lawsuit for false advertising. Once I start explaining that, that'll make perfectly good sense. It's false advertising on the pictures on their menu, specifically the Crunchwrap Supreme. You ever go to Taco Bell and saw, I don't even know what number the Crunchwrap Supreme is, but you look up there on the menu and it's just glorious, full of meat and like lettuce and tomato and sour cream and cheese and crunchy taco shell. What? Yeah, it's a real good looking thing, old Crunchwrap Supreme. And you order it and then you get it and then it's just full of nothing. It's just a origami tortilla with a couple of crunchy little piece of taco in there and maybe a couple pieces of ground beef, and you might get a little jizzle squirt of some fucking sour cream in there. And that's what the basis of the lawsuit is that that Crunchwrap doesn't even look close to what you get ever. They're required by their company policy. They had to weigh what they make in Taco Bell to make sure they don't use too much stuff in order to save money on their behalf. So Taco Bell went to court on that. Don't know what happened on that. If I find out, I will tell you next month on the next No Cap recap. Moving on. By golly, it's my No Cap recap, and I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And by God, I want to talk about guns. So on August 3rd, a little company called Rossi down there in Brazil, you might know of them, they released a little thing called the Rossi Brawler. Kind of a dumb name, kind of a dumb gun. It's a single shot, 45 long Colt / 410 bore pistol. It's not a shotgun, it's got a rifle barrel, but it can take a shotgun shell, kind of like a Taurus Judge. I'm sure you know what that is. It's an idea that's been done before, but they made their own little spin on it. There was a company back in the 80s, it was called Leonad. It was also called Cobra sometimes as well. They were the same company. But they made a little Derringer that took the same shells, but the thing that it's more akin to was made in, I believe, Argentina. But it was called a Super Comanche, and it's just about the same thing, but if you're like me, you think, it looks a little cooler. And it does look a little bit cooler. It was made a little crudely, and I would say it's cheaper, but they haven't imported those in several years. And they've gone up a little bit, but the Rossi Brawler is like $2-something. I think it's hovering around the $200 range, so it's affordable. It better be. You can't really do a lot with it, but I think it's neat they come out with it, but a little bit of gun lesson you didn't ask for. I know the reason you want that, because you're like, whoa, pistol takes shotgun shell, hell yeah. And in concept, hell yeah, but not hardly. Pistols are required by the ATF to be considered a pistol. It needs to have a rifled barrel. You know, the little spinny cuts down the barrel that makes the bullet spin. That works great for bullets, not so good for shotgun shells, because shotgun shells are held in a little plastic thing called the wad, and that's what goes down the barrel. Whenever it leaves the barrel, it kind of slows down, the lead goes on, it just falls on the ground or whatever. The rifling's going to catch that wad, and it's going to spin it. Shotguns don't have rifling, so it comes out in a straightish line there. But whenever you start spinning that sucker, once it leaves the barrel, it'll just sling that shot all over hell's creation. And you don't get a worth-the-fuck pattern. Yeah, probably the distance from me to the camera, it could absolutely just obliterate a snake, so probably what the gun's made for. But anything past that, you're really starting to push the effectiveness of 410. So then you just got a single-shot 45 long Colt pistol. I can't believe I haven't stuttered this entire time. It's probably because I really, really care about what I'm talking about. Anyhow, they come out with that little sucker. It's like, they're around $200. I mean, it's probably made better than a Super Comanche. If you think it looks cool, bro, go grab one. $200, man, you're going to have fun with that sucker. But just be wary that if you want to use it as a home defense weapon, maybe don't do that. I don't think you should do that. Get like an actual handgun or a rifle or a shotgun to defend your home with. But if you're going to go blast snakes or just have fun with it, dude, go ahead. That thing looks pretty fun. Next story. August 4th, 2023. Story broke out. Things that I didn't think I'd be talking about together, but Birmingham Zoo and unmarked grave sites. What? Yup. Birmingham Zoo. If you graduated from Phil Campbell in 2016 and you were going to Phil Campbell during the 5th grade, you'll know about the Birmingham Zoo. Adam actually has a video on this channel called Zoo Story. If I can get the thumbnail for the video, it's going to be right here in my hands. Either way, he made a video talking about that field trip that we went on that one time during the H1N1 swine flu outbreak. You remember that? I bet you did not, but now you do. Anyway, Adam made that video. After you get done watching this one, please, I beseech you, go watch that. That's actually a really good trip down memory lane. And even if you didn't go to Phil Campbell in 5th grade and graduated in 2016, actually a really funny story. Check that shit out. It's really good. Moving on. The Birmingham Zoo had to move some graves that were marked, but we're getting to the unmarked ones. Birmingham Zoo has to move some grave sites in order to make a new exhibit for some animal. If I remember what it is or I find out, I'll put the words right here in my hands. But they're putting some zoo exhibit, and there are some graves there, and they have to move them so they can put the animal exhibit there. Why are there graves at the Birmingham Zoo? That was my question. Come to find out, the whole goddamn thing is just built on grave sites. The whole thing is like a lot of like slave graves and things like that. And they just set a zoo on top of the sucker. The whole time that you've been to the Birmingham Zoo, you are walking on dead people, most likely. Kind of wild, but I mean, I wouldn't have done that. I don't believe in defiling graves of any persuasion, but they did it, so it's not my problem, I suppose. But either way, they gotta move some graves over in order to put an animal exhibit up there. So that's something that you know about Birmingham Zoo now. You're welcome. Moving on to the next story. August 5th, we got a couple of wild and violent stories, so that's always a good time. I'll start with a more brief one that I can cover quickly. The second one is kind of a big story for the month. What you know about some music from the early 2000s? You ever heard of a band called Lost Prophets? They were a little rock band that was going around at the time. If you don't, that's okay. I get that answer a lot. But if you do, then you know the guy. Who's the guy? His name is Ian Watkins. He was the lead singer of a band called Lost Prophets. And he went to jail in 2010, I believe, for doing the most unspeakable, horrible things imaginable that the human person can do. It involves children and doing bad things to them, and that's as far as I'm going to go. If you want to go check that out, please don't. Don't look and see what he did, because then you'll get a little less sleep tonight. But Ian Watkins is a piece of shit, so rest easy on that, and he went to prison, and he's been in prison since about 2010-ish. And on August 5th, a riot broke out at his prison, and some good old boys went in there. I mean, if Britain has good old boys, they went in and got that man out and proceeded to just slash his throat a bunch. Messed him up really bad, cut his neck open really bad. Unfortunately, he did survive the incident, and he is recovering, last time I checked, in the hospital over there somewhere, because I guess you gotta save people like that, and you can't just let them perish. I'm sure he's probably got a messed up neck now, so on the bright side, he did survive, so it may happen to him again. Now for our second story, August 5th, 2023, in Montgomery, Alabama. You know where this is going. A humongous brawl broke out at a dock down there. Basically what happened is that there was a group of well-to-do white people who parked a boat up on the dock there where they weren't supposed to. I'm getting assaulted by a fly at the moment. And then a gentleman who worked in the dock area, who is a black gentleman. This will become important as the story progresses, but he goes up and he says, "Hey, y'all got to move that boat. You can't park that here because we got a ship that needs to dock." And they're like, "No." The people said, "No, we will not move our boat." And he's like, "I really think y'all need to move this boat because you can't be here. This is a job site for all intents and purposes." And they're like, "Nope, fuck you." And then a bunch of people from the boat came up and just started fighting this black dude. Just jumped on him and beat the brakes out of this poor fella. And dock workers and some other workers who were on the boat that was about to dock saw this going on, and they're like, "Hey, stop." And then the people who are the offenders in this situation turned around and started calling them, the hard R word and all that. So then, one, you don't say that and get away with it, and two, you're not going to beat up our friend like that. So people from the dock came down, and then some people who were on the boat that was about to dock hopped off that boat. Michael Phelps their way over there to the dock. I mean, apparently they were swimming fast as shit, and they all got up there and got in a good little group and started closing in on this situation. These white people are still just beating this poor dock worker between an inch of his life. So they come up and they start beating the shit out of these people. And naturally, these people who are rich enough to own a boat to take to Montgomery for a party, they can't fight, but these dock workers sure as shit could. So they roll up in there and just start beating the fucking brakes out of these people. Brakes were laying all around on the ground, but then here come one old boy who is a dock worker and picks up just a steel chair, and he just starts mollywopping people with that damn thing, and he just starts the offending people who parked the boat where they did not supposed to put it there. That's a sentence I just said. They lost the fight with flying colors. They got the shit beat out of them, and good. Not good on the racial standpoint, but I do believe that degree of entitlement where you need to put your boat where there's a job site going and you think that people just need to work around you, that kind of entitlement does need to be beaten out of people. That's where I stand on the issues on this. Either way, they started booking people for assault. Naturally, all the people who parked the boat there first, who started the fight, did go down first, but I think some of the other people who started fighting also went to jail on assault or whatever, which I think is messed up because you were just beating a guy for you being in the wrong, and you deserve to get that ass whooped for you. If I was on that grand jury, I would be like, hell no. Man got a steel chair. He deserves an award, not an indictment. Either way, that happened. So that's one of the big stories for August. But we got to move on because other big stories happened this month as well. Carson and Adam, you asked for a big video, and by golly, you gonna get a big video today. August 8th, I made the last No Cap recap. Congratulations, me. Give myself a pat on the back there. I do have story time for that day. Down in the comments, talking about the Carly Russell thing, Mr. McClung made a comment. Good old English professor over at Northwest, he made a comment. And he said some pretty insightful stuff as I was talking about, why would Carly Russell disappear for those days? And he said something to the effect of you will just never get that answer out of a person who has done something, he says, teaching young people in a collegiate setting. He knows that they don't care to tell you, and you just won't ever get it out of them. And he's right. But tell you what, Mr. McClung, this one's for you. I'm gonna tell a story just on your behalf. I will give you an explanation on something that I did in your class several years ago, and it goes something like this. Several years ago, when I was in my first year of college, hadn't even been there a couple weeks, I had 8 a.m. Mr. McClung's English class, and I was sitting in there, and Mr. McClung humbly asks for your full attention when you're in his class. And you better hand that over, because if you don't, this happens. The night before, I had some homework to do in biology class for Mr. Pace, and I did not do it. I was sitting at home playing probably Guitar Hero 2 or something. I'm an outdated gentleman. And I was eating top chicken fingers, not doing my homework, but doing that instead. And I went to Mr. McClung's class at 8 a.m. Well, my next class was biology, and by God, I had to have that homework done, so I was sitting there in his class, and Mr. McClung was talking about something that I really should have been paying attention to, but I was really worried about that biology homework that I irresponsibly did not do, so I'm trying as stealthily as I can to open my book and start working on that biology homework I was supposed to do, and then Mr. McClung sees me do this, and it's game over for you, boy. He looks at me and he says, hey, do you have something going on there? And I'm like, no, I don't. I already know that I've goofed up big time, and I'm trying to backpedal just as fast as I can, but it's much too late. He basically just says, hey, if you don't want to listen in this class and you got something else you got to do, you're more than welcome to get up and leave and go to the library or whatever, but you're not going to sit here in my class and do this. And I'm like, no, please, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not saying this, but I'm panicking inside. I'm like, please, God, no, I'm sorry. I do not want to be in this situation. I want to learn about English today, sir. It's a terrifying moment for me, but he managed to, I think he realized that I was not here to disrespect anybody, though that's exactly what I was doing. It was not my intent, but that's what happened. So nobody got me in that situation but me. Mr. McClung gently but very firmly chided me for doing not McClung things in McClung's class, and I managed to survive that encounter and went on and did my homework in between classes and still managed to get away with it by getting it done before biology class. So, Mr. McClung, what I was doing was my biology homework that I had not done the night before because I was eating top chicken fingers and playing Guitar Hero 2. That's what happened. I don't know if I know I didn't tell you that's what happened, but that's what happened. And I still to this day deeply apologize for my transgressions in your class. So now the big question is, well, did you start doing your homework at night? Did you quit eating top chicken fingers and doing stuff you are not supposed to? And the answer to that question is no. Look at how many videos we have uploaded to this channel. If that number didn't get that high by me doing my homework, I guarantee you that. So I kept going home and making cornhole videos and eating my top chicken fingers and not doing my homework. But you better guarantee yourself that I did not do nothing in McClung's class but McClung work. So pro tip, if you're in McClung's class right now in college, if you're watching this, pro tip, don't do that. Do not do what I did. There ain't no grilling like a McClung grilling. I got away with a light sear. I was still a pretty delicious steak by the time I had left that altercation. So if you're thinking about doing not McClung stuff in McClung's class, don't show up that day, or just show up and pay attention and face the consequences of not doing your homework. But do not do anything that isn't literature related in McClung's class. Don't do that. Also, on August 8th, a song was released by a gentleman who I'm embarrassed to say, I forgot his name. If I remember it, I will put it right here in my hands. He released a song called Rich Men of North Richmond, and it's a song about being broke and underpaid, and the feds being messed up, and the world being messed up, and it received some pretty good feedback. It shot to #1 on the charts and actually got played on the radio a good bit, and that's good because I think talking about being underpaid in today's world is very pertinent. I think that needs more attention brought to it because we are all underpaid. I'm broke. I stay broke. He started calling out. He made an Epstein Island call by saying something to the effect of, "I wish politicians would worry more about minors instead of minors on an island somewhere." Spicy line. But people had a problem with that song because he says, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, the government ought not pay for your bags of fudge rounds or something like that. And people had a problem with that because, of course, they did. And it is kind of messed up that people leech off the welfare system, but I think it's misdirected anger, at least my opinion. Because, it does kind of suck, but I think that it's dumb because you're not getting any help even though you're underpaid. I think that people who can't work should get paid, but I think that people who are working and are underpaid should also get help from the government as well, so that way they can eat and stuff. Either that or pay us all better. I do think it's messed up whenever able-bodied people are leeching off the welfare system if it takes away from people who actually need it. Otherwise, I don't care. I don't like the feds, and they can afford it. I guarantee you they can afford to feed all of us. Am I talking about socialist stuff on this channel? Oh no, I'm not a socialist, but I do think that the feds can afford to feed us. Instead of sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine to fight a war that nobody here gives a shit about. And then a real big story on August 8th. Terrible thing. In Maui, part of Hawaii over there, wildfire broke out. And a lot of people died. And the circumstances under which they died is very suspicious. Wildfire broke out, and they have emergency systems and alarms for such a thing, and they didn't go off. They were notified over the TV and I think the radio, but as far as a siren going off, which they have, they just didn't use them. And I'm sure they tried to talk about some reason why they couldn't use them, but they didn't use them. And fire burned, and the death toll is in the hundreds, and it's terrible. It's awful. Those who knew which way to go went down this one roadway, and then a big traffic pileup happened on that roadway, and that's where most people died. There's just lines of scorched cars where people met their fate. Oh no, I think I'm going tin hat mode again, but last time I checked the scoreboard, the conspiracy theorists are winning. We're usually right. What's crazy about this is that there are several celebrities who own property in Maui. Like Oprah, I know Oprah being one of them, and there are several A-list celebrities who have houses and property in Maui, and none of their property was touched. Not a single part of it. But all the areas where all the native Hawaiians and all the citizens of Maui live, scorched. Just scorched earth. Nothing left standing. So many people died in that fire. So now what you have is, where all the undesirables lived at, you have a lot of freshly scorched land that you could buy for cheap and then make it a tourist spot. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that just insane how that worked out? People are like, you're stupid, you're dumb, there's no way that they would do that. Because the United States government doesn't have a history of taking indigenous people's land, destroying it, and then using it for their own gain. Bruh, have you seen anything to the west of Kentucky? Have you seen anything to the west of Plymouth Rock? And there's more stuff coming out that makes this even worse. And again, no sirens went off. Nobody had time to prepare for this. And then there was more footage coming out of the police blocking roadways to evacuation zones. There's that one big highway where they ask people to go to evacuate, and then there are roadblocks at the end of it. There are roadblocks everywhere to keep people from escaping the fire. And yeah, isn't that wild? Isn't that wild that they didn't notify anybody that there was a fire happening in any major way? And they also didn't let them leave. And then they all died, and all the homes are gone. A lot of the people are gone. Isn't that just crazy how that happened? It's just a wild coincidence that all of those things happened, and yet all of the A-listers' property is untouched. Isn't that just crazy? Isn't that just insane? It's a horrible tragedy. It is a terrible, terrible tragedy that has happened, because so many people lost their homes and so many people died in the most horrible fashion imaginable. If that was an accident, if that was just a freak natural disaster that happened, which I should push, nope, not a chance, dude. Too much. There was too much coincidental, beneficial things for somebody else. There is no goddamn way that was not set there on purpose. I'm getting heated about it, so I'm gonna go to the next story. August 9th, somewhere in Florida, they emptied a lake. And upon emptying the lake out, they found something to the tune of 30 cars in that lake that apparently nobody knew they were there. Just 30 cars and it just gone. And they found them in the lake. So I'm sure there's lots of crime going on there, so that's pretty neat. Otherwise, that was a pretty righteous senior prank that I didn't hear about. Hey, anybody down there on the unlikely event that you are cleaning up cars and you watch this video, if you see an 04 to 2012 Chevy Colorado with an intact chrome grille, let me know. I need one. August 10th, over in, I believe, Texas, a woman was attacked by a snake and a hawk at the same time out of a clear blue sky. She was just walking out to her garden, I believe, and then next thing she knew, there was a snake that had landed on her, and she's like, oh shit, a snake. And then a hawk started attacking her, and she's like, oh shit, a hawk. I don't think the snake did any damage, but the hawk sure did. It was clawing her arm trying to get the snake, and that woman was very understandably traumatized by this. I'm not a shaman, I am not a spiritualist, but I believe you did something to make somebody very upset if that happens to you. Basically, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what happened. A hawk had caught a snake and was flying overhead of this woman, and it just so happened to lose grip of the snake and drop it. And the snake landed on her, and the hawk's like, nope, I'm still gonna get my snake supper, and then he flies down and gets the snake, along with some arm meat from this poor unsuspecting woman. So I'd like to think that hawk still got his supper, but that woman got a ass whooping she will never forget. August 11th, I went out to Decatur Whataburger, tried Whataburger for the first time, and I proceeded to have Whataburger several times after that. Got a lot of good things to say about Whataburger. You ain't never had Whataburger, it's worth a shot. Beats the shit out of Five Guys. How am I going to sit there and pay $30 for a burger that don't taste like nothing? We've had this talk. Whataburger real good, though. Whataburgers are real good, and especially if you get the app on your phone and you download online, because with that app, you have the tools to take any burger that you want and change out the burger buns for Texas toast. And you can put any kind of sauce in there, any kind of vegetable or whatever on there free of charge. And they got milkshakes, and they come in 3 flavors. Right now they got the chocolate and the vanilla and the strawberry, but right now I think they got banana pudding shake. I'm not interested in that, but they got those flavors of shakes, but they also have them in malts. And if you never had a malt, it's just kind of a shake, but there's more there to it. It has like a heavy it's a heavier thing to eat, and it has kind of nutty undertaste there, and it real good. I like malts. They are a little bit better than a milkshake. A bit thicker too, and I like them thick. I like them chunky. The only thing I can say about Whataburger that's a negative is that their fries leave a good bit to be desired. Their ketchup bussin', but the fries are not that great. But they do got onion rings, and they're very, very tasty onion rings. But everything else I've had at Whataburger, it bangs. Very good. Also, it's like marginally more expensive than Burger King, and it's like much better than Burger King. Just go check out some Whataburger. I think they just opened one up over in Florence. August 12th, a house in Pennsylvania just straight blew up. Like it exploded, like big boy exploded. 5 people died, unfortunately, and the house is just obliterated from that explosion, and then the neighboring houses, a few of them also just got flattened. It was a big boom. Somebody caught it on a Ring doorbell camera. I don't know what started the explosion. It might be out there, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess natural gas explosion. Those happen sometimes, and houses are just deleted from that moment forward. But it's a really sad story because 5 people are just gone in an instant. You know, out here in the South, we're like, meth lab in the basement. No, meth lab explosions aren't that bad, thankfully. Otherwise, there just wouldn't be a Walker County. Oh, I guess I got to talk about a gun. It ain't a no-cap recap if I don't talk about a firearm. Dove season has opened up as of now, so Mr. McClung, check your O-rings. You know what I'm talking about. You want to make sure that you don't have no malfunctions in between shots on a Dove. I hope you had a good Dove season thus far, but I'm going to talk about a good old Dove gun today. Dove gun we got today, Slam Dandy. This is a Winchester Model 24, 12-gauge double-barrel shotgun. They also made them in 20 and 16 gauge. This was a working man's double-barrel shotgun. This one was made in 1946, according to the serial number. This was meant to compete with the Stevens Model 311. Good old classic working man's shotgun. Great shotgun. A lot of people say that the 311 is better than the Model 24 Winchester, and I have to say that I disagree wholeheartedly. I believe that the Winchester Model 24 is better than the Stevens 311 in every way, form, and fashion. And some people would say that them are fighting words. And if you feel such a way, well, all I can tell you, if you fixing to get a front row ticket to see what kind of acorns have been dropping here on Harris property this year, boy, I lay you out like a wet sock on tin roof after you jumped in Calco Creek. August 14th was a blessed day. High Point, after 5 years, finally released the YC9. That will be the Yeet Cannon 9. That's what it stands for. Back in 2019, High Point decided that they were going to revamp their Model C9, which was the good old classic High Point big ugly 9mm. I cannot get this sleeve button, so I will do it off camera later. High Point C9 is considered one of the worst guns ever made. I believe that's false. High Point C9 is, you can do a lot worse than a High Point, but it's still not a great gun, cheap thing. High Point decided they were going to revamp it a bit. They gave it forward slide serrations, reprofiled the slide a bit, gave it new grips, gave it a grip safety like you find on a 1911. It has it's cut for an optic straight out of the box. It has a threaded barrel, and they gave it a double stack magazine. Bumped the rounds up from I think 8 to 10. So you went from having an 8-round single stack mag to a 10-round double stack mag. And it also retails just around $200, just like the Rossi Brawler. And you better believe I'm gonna try to get me one eventually. But day that it released, TFB got a copy, and it didn't do too hot. It had a lot of failures to feed throughout their time of having it. So 5 years and you could not make it good, and that makes me sad. So until you get them kinks worked out, I'm gonna stick to the old faithful, ye old High Point C9. I don't actually own a C9. I have before. It worked great. But I'd like to have another one. And then I'd like to get a YC9, which I see that they will work pretty well. But right now, I haven't seen great things about it. So until you fix it, I won't buy one. But when you do, yeah, I'll grab one up. I'm going to jump a few days to August 19th. A man was shot 7 times while trying to rob a liquor store. He was shot by a man who was holding a gun and a 6-pack of beer the whole time. Dude comes in there and he's like, give me all $400 that are in that register. And then this gentleman has his 6-pack of what I would imagine is probably Miller. I'm a Miller guy. And he just looks over the shelf there in front of him while holding his 6-pack. He draws his pistol and shoots the guy. Bam, bam, bam. And he laid on down. And I'm sure that guy thought, I paid for a whole magazine. Might as well use the whole sumbitch. So he just continues to pop him, and I think the guy robbing the store who got shot actually managed to survive. And I guess if you shoot a person with a whole magazine, it looks bad in front of a judge. So that guy had to go to court, but he was, all charges were dropped, so that's good. Yeah, pro tip, I guess if you gotta shoot somebody in self-defense or defense of another person, don't use the whole magazine maybe, unless you gotta, but apparently in the right circumstances you can just not get any charges on that, so good on that dude, and I hope that beer was real good. I hope it was good. August 22nd, at a Tennessee zoo, a spotless giraffe baby was born. And I don't mean that as she was clean. I'm sure she was very greasy, but I mean that she doesn't have any giraffe stripes or spots or anything. She just looked like a long-necked deer. She just a cute little thing. Look at her. Ain't she just the cutest little shit you ever seen? I don't remember what she was named, but she got a cute name. If I remember the name or I find it, the name will be right here in my hands. She was born, and that caught worldwide attention because as far as anybody knows, she is the only giraffe sans spots anywhere on Earth. So that's pretty wild, and she's just hanging out in Tennessee with her mom. I like that. I like seeing a giraffe like that. Look like old long-necked deer just hanging out there, but she giraffe. I checked. She giraffe. August 23rd, a Russian chief mercenary, you'll see that I got my phone out here because I don't know. His name was Evgeny Prigozhin or something like that. And he was one of the top guys in Russia who was trying to take down Putin, and he suddenly died in a plane crash. Isn't that wild? Somebody who is flying in the airspace run by the man that you are trying to destroy. That man knows you're trying to destroy him, but your plane just kind of goes down and wrecks. Isn't that just crazy? Isn't that just wild that they didn't fire a missile up there to take him out, to get him taken care of? Why are we even trying to hide this stuff? It's very obvious what happened. August 24th, big news, big historical news. Former President Donald Trump surrendered to the authorities for about 45 minutes before he posted bail and got out of there. But we got a Donald Trump mugshot. Looks something like that. It will be here in my hands. Yeah, oh boy, he went and surrendered to the authorities because they gave him an ultimatum. They're like, yo, you got to come surrender or we will come get you. And he came and surrendered and then posted bail of $200,000, just a few minutes later. And then he got out, went back home and started campaigning for the presidency again. I got him on the whatever. There's a number of things that might have happened. I don't know. Either way, we got a presidential mugshot. So that's what happened August 24th. And it ain't a no-cap recap if I don't talk about somebody dying. August 26th, Bob Barker finally passed away. If you don't know who Bob Barker is, that means that you stayed home from school after 2008-ish. I think that's whenever Drew Carey started doing The Price is Right. But Bob Barker was the original host of Price is Right from its conception all the way to like the late 2000s there until Drew Carey took over. But yeah, old Bob Barker passed away. I think he was in his 90s. If I remember his age, I will put it right here in my hands. It's one of those things, like, it's sad when anybody passes away, but man, did he live his life to the fullest. He impacted a lot of people to the point where Bob Barker is definitely a household name. God was like, Bob, come on down, buddy. Oh, Bob Barker, he was a great host of a very influential, very important show. Again, like every day, and during the summer, I'd go to my grandparents' house, and I'd show up at their house about 10 o'clock every morning, and lo and behold, there's Price is Right on TV, and I always enjoyed watching it with them. Good old Bob Barker hosting that show, and yeah, he touched a lot of lives that way, and he made a big difference in the world just in an entertainment way. And again, that's a full life to live, and that's a big accomplishment to put your hat on. So, hate to see him go, but you love to watch him leave. I don't think I need to say that. Hate to see him gone, but he definitely did his part in this world, and we're all grateful for that. So rest in peace, my boy Bob Barker. August 29th, over in Sydney, Australia, because where else? We'll get to that. They found a big old worm inside of a woman's brain. They were doing brain surgery on her old gourd there, had her top cap took off there, and they were looking at her brain, and they saw something moving, and they thought, that's not supposed to happen. And it was just a big old worm, big old freaking tapeworm looking thing. I don't know what kind of worm it was, but either way, it was just up there, nestled in the wrinkles of her noggin there, just scooting around her little noodle. She got a brain worm. There he is. If she had not gotten this brain surgery, probably nobody would have known it was there. I don't even know if it was hurting anything, but if there was a brain in my head, if there was a worm up in my brain, I would like it out of there. Doctors didn't really know how it got up in there, and they don't know if a lot of people are running around with a friggin' brain worm in their gourd, but I hope that I don't. I don't know. Maybe that's just the worm talking. Let's move on. August 30th, old bitch McConnell. You remember last No Cap recap? I talked about him just freezing there for a bit. Well, that happened again. He was just talking, and then he froze with a 1,000-yard stare again over the course of like a concerningly long amount of time. Running for re-election in 2026.
Stephen, answer the question. Answer the question, Stephen. Stephen, answer the question. Answer it, Stephen. Answer the question, Stephen. Answer the question, Stephen. Stephen. Stephen, answer the question. Stephen! Stephen!
To the point where, like, the people with him are like, you good? And it's kind of clear that the people around him have protocol for when that happens. So, again, he is too old to be doing this. Unfortunately, he was okay. Yeah, he was just sitting there talking, and they're like, hey, are you going to run again? Are you going to run for re-election? And he's just like, he just zooted on dementia medication, voting on your future. So, you know, that's happening in this nation a lot. Finally, to finish off this August No Cap recap, got our final story, and it's a pretty good one. Over in Nebraska, a guy was pulled over by the police because he had a big old longhorn bull riding shotgun with him in his car. He's just going down the road, and there's just a bull sitting there, open top there on a homemade T-tops on his Grand Marquis or Ford Crown Vic or whatever he was driving. That bull was just sitting there going down the road with this guy just riding shotgun, just head stuck out the top of the roof, and they was just headed somewhere important, I'm sure, somewhere the bull needed to be, but the police and their infinite wisdom were like, nope, you don't need to be doing that. And then they stopped him, and they're like, I don't even think they gave him a ticket, but they're like, you gotta not do that and go back home and come back without the bull, which I think is bullshit. I guarantee you that if I got pulled over for doing something like that, I would just wait until the police were gone, and then I would just go out when the police weren't there. Pro tip, if you got a bull riding shotgun, take the back road. Take the back road. Ain't no cost back there. Yeah, that about sums her up for the August No Cap recap. Pretty rough month. A lot of real bad things happen. Everything is still on fire. At some point, California, SoCal, got hit with a hurricane. I know on one of the first No Cap recaps, I talked about them getting hit with a little tornado. That's not a big deal, but they got hit by a hurricane, and it was called Hurricane Hillary, so I'm sure whenever it hit, a lot of people just mysteriously killed themselves. But yeah, that's about all she wrote for August No Cap recap. Hope you enjoyed it. Carson, Adam, if you're still watching, I mean, I hope this was a fat enough video for you. I hope it had some girth. Hope you like that girth I put in these videos. You like girth? Hope you like girth. You like girth, boy? I've been out here in the woods doing this long enough that my throat hurts, my mouth is dry, and I can't really think that straight. I think I'm dehydrated. So, I'm fixing to head on back to the house. I gotta try to edit in somewhere for that dog to cut a jig, so I'll catch y'all on the flip side. My ass hurts.